It's a great day to talk hockey with Grant McCagg on HabsCast.
And a good Thursday afternoon to everyone. Eric's having some issues logging in, so instead of making everybody wait 5 minutes or whatever, I thought I'd start it off here. He should be along in a couple minutes. He's just rebooting his computer, but I'm happy to have Eric Macramalla on. He's always a great guest to have, so he'll be with us in a few minutes. Kevin says, heard he's representing Gavin. Yeah. I don't think he wants to necessarily talk about that. He'll save that for his offside show. That's his wheelhouse when he talks about stuff like that. But this is HabsCast, and we're probably not going to get into it. But yeah, it might be a good idea for him to get Eric for that. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Habs game last night. Going into the break on a winning note. I think no losses in their last five, points in their last five, 4-0-1. Both goalies playing fairly well. Lots of players. Only 4 going to the Olympics, not like some teams. So it's a good opportunity for a bunch of the guys to get some rest. I mean, we know that won't be the case with Hudson. He'll be probably on the ice every day, but that's just him. He's wired a little differently than the rest of us, but he doesn't need rest. I don't think. He's kind of like a machine. Beautiful goal last night by Laine, showing once again that, hey, if there's if McAvoy's injured for any length of time here, certainly has to be a possibility to be picked up, right? Kevin Gumbley saying the Hudson-Dobson duo is golden, and that's a very fair comment. I think they're they're either plus 11 and 14 points or plus 14 and 11 points so far in like 4 games together. So, yeah. I liked that they got put together as a pairing. Hey, both first pairing guys, so it made sense to try it, right? And also like the fact that, hey, one happens to be a lefty and one happens to be a righty. So yeah, it's a good combo, and maybe that's a permanent thing. But it's nice to have the 6'4" long stick with the 5'10" guy. Dobson can get his stick in there, cover a little more territory than Laine when they're both stationary in the defensive zone. So it's nice to. It makes sense to have them to try them out at some point, and I think. Ultimately, who's your best right defenseman and who's your best left defenseman? Well, that's Hudson and Dobson. So, yeah, I don't mind those two being paired together, and they look like a pair. Like they should be getting the most even strength minutes, right? But I also like Gooley with Matheson because Matheson is a Matheson's a heck of a player, but he could use the best defensive, who I consider to be the best defensive defenseman, and with a physical presence in Gooley. So I like those two as a pair. Finally get to see Eric's face there. It was device not connected, kept coming on, but now we're good to go. So there's the man himself. Good afternoon, Eric. How are you today?
How you doing, Grant? Nowadays, when you have to reboot a computer, it can take a better part of 10 minutes. This time was just 6, which is good. Microsoft just can't always seem to pick up all my microphones. using all these
No
different
problem.
platforms, but that's okay. Nobody cares, and frankly, I stopped caring. Welcome back to HabsCast. He's Grant McCagg. I'm Eric Macramalla. Man, things are good for the Montreal Canadiens. I wanted to start with a question for you about what we saw last night. Montreal Canadiens against the Winnipeg Jets. Canadiens won 5-1. I want to talk about one specific play. You probably know the one I'm talking about. Lane Hutson's goal. Okay. There was the edge work, the way he accepted the pass. There was the way in which he aggressively pinched, which has become a thing for the Canadiens with their defensive core. Hard to contain. Yeah. That's the toughest thing for opposing coaches because our D-men, Matheson, Dobson, Hudson, and sometimes Carrier are not afraid to pinch. They clearly have the green light. What do you think about Lane Hutson's goal, question one? And question two, what does that goal represent for you about this Canadiens team?
Yeah. Well, I saw your tweet last night, and the thing that maybe impressed me the most was the shot. And, like he's done that before, right? On the short side, where he tucks it in, where there's like, I don't know, 3 inches and a millimeter of room, and he tucks it in that spot. That was a beautiful shot. He's done that before, and but yeah, like even Goalie too. He hasn't got a lot of points yet, but those will come. Goalie doesn't mind jumping up into the play either. And hey, when you've got what may be the most mobile defense group in the league, utilize them in that situation. It just makes sense. And then when you also have 4 centers in particular who are so defensively aware and are, like Cappy especially, and Deneau and Evans and Suzuki, like all of them will stay back and cover for the defenseman when he pinches up. I think that they're aware of it, and that Marty, must practice it a lot in scrimmages and stuff, and say, look for the defenseman. If he jumps up into the play, stay back for him and cover for him. So yeah, it's taken advantage of one of the strong points of Montreal's defense group, their mobility, and also their offense. Like, are they second in points, I think, behind Colorado this year?
Yeah, defensive core. Yeah, the Montreal's D core is second in points in the NHL this season.
Right. Yeah. And part of the reason is because they have the green light to jump up into the play, as you say. But
yeah, I mean, great. Eh? If you're a defenseman for the Canadiens, Grant, being given the green light, getting a chance to express yourself, Yeah.
No, I used to love when whenever I played defense, to the coach say, join the play when you want, just use your instincts there, right? I didn't mind it at all, and I also didn't mind going back and covering for the defenseman. I think that's part of it's a very important factor when the defenseman jumps up, that somebody covers for him, or then you're in trouble. And the Canadiens have been caught with that a few times. I mean, when you're as aggressive as they are with the pinch and with the jumping up into the play, there are times when you're going to get burned. But I think on the whole, the positives greatly outweigh the negatives when it comes to that.
So here is some of Arpon Basu's article in The Athletic about how the Canadiens have had a good season. Since the start of the season, the Canadiens have only spent 19 days out of a playoff spot, and only twice have they spent more than 1 day out of the playoffs. Since the last day the Canadiens were outside the playoffs, they have a 15-5-4 record in 24 games, a points percentage of .708, third best in the NHL over that span. And they are second to the Sabres in goals scored over that span with 92. The biggest thing that plagued the Montreal Canadiens over the past 25 years, even before this year, was an inability to score more than other teams, an inability to score on a regular basis. They have routinely been in the bottom part of the league and when it comes to goals for. This year is completely different. If I were to ask you, Grant, through your scout lens, why are the Canadiens scoring as much, because it's not enough to have players that are talented. That's not enough. Lots of teams have guys that can fill the back of the net at practice. But what is it about this team that allows them to score as many goals as they do?
Well, part of it is that defense core having the second best offensive defense core in the league allows you. It makes it a lot more difficult on the opposing teams. They don't know, it's not regular coverage for defensively, because you just don't know which guys are going to be attacking it, and so it creates confusion for the other team. They can practice all they want, but when they're being given a different look than what they're accustomed to, it tends to lead to more mistakes on the other team's part. But it's talent. Like, the Canadians have the most talent that they have had in several decades, and when you are among the three most skilled teams in the league, you're going to be able to score goals. They've got a coach who isn't afraid, that isn't ultra conservative, unlike some that they've had in the recent past, and he recognizes that. Also, I think their youth doesn't hurt either in that regard, where they're energized. They're an energized group. Mind you, it was the vets that kind of stepped up last night up front, wasn't it, Eric?
Yes, it was. That is Grant McCagg. I'm Eric Macramalla. This is HabsCast, all things Montreal Canadiens. At Scory George, I like you too. Thanks for the comment. Canadians are number 2 in the league for goals for, between the Avalanche and the Oilers. I never thought I would say that sentence. Okay. The Habs goal differential stands at plus 12. They're in the minuses for most of the season. Now plus 12. Colorado is at plus 74. So the Canadians have given up about 39 more goals than the Avalanche. When you look at this team, to what extent, Grant, are you concerned about the team's ability to keep the puck out of the net, or have you seen a marked improvement on the defensive side, particularly with Gouli back in the fold?
Well, I was just going to say, since Gouli's come back, and particularly the last few games, and also I think the goaltending stabilized a little bit, perhaps here. I think they're headed in the right direction, but I do also think that they do need to add one more defenseman here to the fold. It appears that they're just not comfortable playing, especially playing Jack-Eye regularly. And I think you need a third pairing that's kind of together all the time. It can't be easy when your third pairing defenseman has a different partner. Like, it's nice to have the same partner for the whole game at even strength, and you get used to each other and your tendencies, and you grow. But like Alex Carrier this year, and kudos to him for being able to adapt to it, but how many games has he played where he had the same partner for the entire game? Especially when he's on that third pairing with Jack-Eye. It's like, well, he gets 16 to 22 minutes and Jack-Eye gets 5 to 10. Well, they're not paired together that often, are they? So I think what they need to do is get a sixth defenseman that can play regularly with Carrier. I like the configuration of the top 2 pairings now. I'm glad that I like Gouli with Matheson, and I mean Dobson with Hudson. Since they've been paired together, their numbers are just outrageously good. So I think that helps. I think Gouli being in the top 4 was important. I didn't like it when it was Carrier, Hudson as your second pairing, but I understood Gouli probably needed a few games to get back into game shape and playing as well as he is. But I like the top 4 defensemen should play in the top 4, and they should get the most minutes. And I think they're going to look to add a veteran, physical defensive defenseman here going up to the trade deadline, and it may be their biggest need, because like you say, they're second in goal scoring. It's not like they need to get goals. I think they need another big forward in the bottom six, but I also believe that their main target going up to the trade deadline here is going to be defense.
I think it's abundantly clear, Grant, based upon how Struble and Jackeye have been used, and that is it's a revolving door that St. Louis just doesn't have confidence in them. And having watched Arbor and Struble play on TV and live, it's difficult to disagree with him. Arbor sometimes makes easy plays look hard, like a zone exit. Struble's processing on the ice isn't, from my standpoint, isn't where it needs to be. The Canadiens have a problem here because if one of their top 4 or top 5 defensemen go down, then they're really going to be exposed. And you can't have both those guys playing in the same game. The best thing the Canadiens could do is to go out there and acquire a bottom pairing defenseman or a 4, 5, 6 type of D, right? Like I'm not gonna say Logan Stanley like him or Luke Shen. He looked kind of slow last night, but whoever it is, I don't know if White Cloud's available. I assume he's not. He was just acquired by the Flames. The Montreal Canadiens need to shore up that bottom pairing, so it doesn't come down to Marty St. Louis flipping a coin before every game, going who's in, Arbor or Struble. That's an issue that I see with the team. An issue that I don't see, unless you want to comment on that.
Yeah, well, like if they could get a White Cloud, or Connor Murphy was a name that Rick brought up the other day from Chicago. I like that name too. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent, big, has some physical edge. Both of those guys are top 4 defensemen. And I think White Cloud led Vegas in ice time before he was dealt. If you can get a guy that's legitimate top 4 playing as your that's a nice that's a nice defense core then, right? If they can somehow pick up a guy that's legitimately top 4, should be getting top 4 ice time, but with the top 4 that the Habs have now, he may not. All of a sudden you've got arguably one of the top 5 defense groups in the league. If the goaltending stabilized, then the goals for are as good as they are. Maybe get one more physical player in the bottom 6. I don't see why the Canadiens can't be legitimate contenders this year.
I based upon how they've played, you're looking at the superficial data, take a deep dive on the analytics. The Montreal Canadiens are a very good NHL hockey team. Full stop. They are in the standings. They are 6th overall now. 6th overall with 72 points in 57 games. They are 11 points behind the Avalanche and just 6 points behind Minnesota Wild, who are in second place. The Canadiens are a legitimate contender. This is why I understand the tension with Gordon and Hughes is that, okay, now you're the tricky part of the rebuild. Now you want to add some players to bolster the run short term, get your players playoff experience, which is invaluable, but also don't mortgage the future. And you want to acquire players. I believe that's what they're saying. Players, for the most part, you want to keep for a while. But I think it's incumbent on this team. And I know they know this. They're smarter than I am. I mean, my God. I mean, I'm sure that Jeff Gordon has forgotten more about hockey than I've ever known. But I think it's incumbent on the team, management, to go out there and get a top 4 D man to the extent they can. Let's not forget about something. It's very hard to find a top 6 forward. Teams hang on to those guys. But back in 2021, when the Canadiens had their cup run, their D-core had Weber, Sherratt, Edmonston, Jeff Petrie. None of those guys were drafted by the Montreal Canadiens. All of them were acquired. So you can find your D-man out there. And I think it's okay if you trade away a second-round pick, if that buys you an extra round or even 2 for a player like that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, especially when you've got the youngest team in the league. And I think the best experience that they can get would be to have to make the playoffs, A, but B, to go more than a round and just get that, get that experience, that playoff experience that it seems like most young teams, you look back at Chicago, you look back at Pittsburgh back in the day when they had a good they had a good run with their young core, and they figured out, okay, this is what it takes. The Edmonton Oilers, they had to go to the Stanley Cup Finals against the Islanders and lose to them, and then Gretzky, it's a famous story about him walking past the Islanders dressing room after they had just beat the Oilers, with their first trip to the Cup Finals, and looking in and thinking that they'd be celebrating and whooping it up, and they were just dead, like they'd given it all. And that's what you got to do to win the Stanley Cup. You have to just leave it all out there on the ice, and until you experience that, it's difficult to realize it. And the best thing for this talented young group, and the core is under 26, like all the best players on the team. Nothing better for them than to go 2 to 4 rounds in this upcoming playoff. And that's why, another reason why I think he even mortgage a little bit of the future if need be, to go for it this year, in a year when the defending Stanley Cup champs may not even make the playoffs. I still think the hardest team to beat in the East this year would be Florida if they somehow made it. And it's looking more and more like they may not even make the playoffs now. So you go for it. I think they can beat anybody in the East if they get a couple of the right pieces that they need in the bottom 6 and on defense.
That is the voice of Grant McCagg, NHL scout. I'm Eric Macramalla. This is HabsCast, all things Montreal Canadiens. I do want to get to some possible trade candidates. You spoke a bit about that last night. I have some names that I want to toss at you that maybe you haven't spoken about just yet, but I do want to talk 17, 24, 11. Those aren't my measurements. That's the Anderson, Danault, Gallagher line. They look good last night. There's something to be said of having those 3 guys together. There's a psychological element when you put 3 guys that are comfortable with each other, you put them on the same line. Sometimes you see a better performance. Danault has been good since he was acquired. I mean, he's been terrific on faceoffs. I mean, he's in some games, he's putting a faceoff clinic on. It's really a lot of fun to watch. Gallagher hasn't been as effective, but of late he's been good, and Anderson looked good last night as well. I'm just a Habs fan. I don't have your scouting lens. When you watch what is effectively the Habs' third line, what are your thoughts on that line?
Well, I think they've been pretty effective since they've been put together. They haven't been hurting the team, and last night, obviously, Gallagher. I think Gallagher has played well since that line's been together. And last night it came through with some points. I think it was Gallagher's best game of the year, and it wasn't just about the points. He was making smart plays. He had energy. What's also encouraging here is the fact that Gally looks the best he has all year right now, and now he gets a 3-week rest, right? So he should come back, and I think probably play well for the rest of the year. And the fact that he played, when they went to the Stanley Cup Finals that year, he was on the line. He had been on a line for a couple of years with Danault and Tatar, and they were very good defensively. They shut down other teams. He knows those 2 are comfortable with each other and know each other, and then you throw the big winger that's a forechecking demon in Anderson on the other side. It makes for a half decent bottom line group. Now, when everybody's back, presumably, and maybe if they pick up another piece, that might even be looked at as kind of the 4th line, or at least the bottom 2 are kind of a 3A, 3B. And again, if they get that piece on defense, the legitimate top 3 or 4 defensemen that's playing on the bottom pairing, and then you've got a veteran line like that is kind of like your 4th line. The depth from top to bottom at this point is pretty impressive, and I think they can make a lot of noise in the playoffs this year with that group.
Last night, Samuel Montembeault played a hell of a game. That save he made, that leg save, right leg save he made, it might have been off Kyle Connor. I can't remember. It was a fantastic save. My two boys and I were like, "Okay, now that is a hell of a save. That's old Montembeault." Up to this point, including overtime losses, Montembeault is 500. He's 10-10. Dobesh is 18-9. So he's won twice as many games as he's lost. His style is unconventional. Okay, I put that in quotes. That's a euphemism. It's unconventional, but he wins. He wins more often than he loses. Without Dobesh to start the season, the Canadiens would not be in a playoff spot. Full stop. Period. You cannot argue that. Without Dobesh, he has effectively saved the Canadian season, give him a chance to get in the playoffs. That performance last night by Montembeault was great. Is this goaltending coaching? What is it? And based upon your experience as a scout, is Montembeault's success over the past, I guess, couple of games, particularly last night, is that sustainable? Tough question, I know.
Well, he's had some good games. Like he's had some good games this year.
Because we know up and down like a roller coaster,
but then
right?
But then it got followed up by not so good games. So it's too early to say.
Nicely,
yeah. So it's too early to say, Eric. I mean,
not so nice games. Yes,
one game sample size. I don't think we can predict what the future for Monty here. But part of it, I think, is having an improved defense, having Gouli back. Gouli, and I've noticed it, is just so good in front of the net. Like he's the best defenseman. He gets to pucks that are loose pucks and rebounds and clears guys out of the front of the net better than any other guy on the team. And that's so important. Like you see save percentages. Well, save percentages can be poor if your defense group isn't getting to rebounds and, shots, getting guys out in front of the net, high danger areas. And Gouli really helps in that regard. But I also think they need one more guy like Gouli. And if you have those two in the lineup, your goaltending is just naturally going to be better, whether they're playing better or not. Like their save percentage is going to go up. They're going to give up fewer goals. Yeah, I think like we saw when he went down to the Laval, he came back up and he had a couple of good games. And then the longer that Eric Raymond was in his ear, he leveled off. I don't know if that was just coincidence, but I don't think so, because the Canadiens apparently thought that it wasn't just coincidence because they got rid of Raymond. And now again, he's Marco's had a couple of weeks to work with him. First game that he plays, maybe his best game of the year. Again, is this coincidence? I don't think so. I think Martial was having a positive effect on him, and now he's got. I presume that they're still gonna. I don't know what are the rules, Eric, for like can they practice? Can they tutor? Can they coach?
They cannot. I saw the wording. They cannot practice as a team.
Okay.
So you can still. I mean, you aren't going to do nothing at this stage. I mean, these are professionals. Lane Hudson saw it on the ODR 7 times today already in his neighborhood. But you can go to the rink. You just can't practice as a team. So obviously there are ways around that.
Well, I presume, and I think it'd be smart for Marco to continue to be, working with Monty in whatever capacity that he can over the next 3 weeks, and keep trying to teach him, getting through to him over this break. Presumably Monty's not just going to go to a beach in Florida and sit in the sand for the entire time. I don't know. I have no idea. He hasn't played a hell of a lot, so it probably would behoove him not to do that and to, practice however he can, keep working on his game during this 3-week break, because he hasn't been playing much, right?
The thing is that last night's performance by Monty to me looked a bit different, Grant. It felt different. And those are that's the sense you get if you watch all the games, or at least you give yourself that opportunity to, okay, this feels it did feel a little bit different, and so who knows how that's going to look. A lot of people are asking about a Montreal Canadiens player. I want to get your view on that, and that's Patrik Laine. I've said that, hey, he can make your second power play unit better. A second power play unit is not particularly strong, but I also get that maybe his style of play and his speed isn't necessarily aligned with the evolving identity of the Montreal Canadiens. How's that for being kind? I still love Patrik Laine. He's got one of the best shots in the league, one of the best releases in the league. Those two things go together for me.
Yeah.
What I'd like to see him on the second power play unit personally, and just see how he does. He's still a big body. He's still really good at protecting the puck. When you watch him play, he's probably elite at that. What are you ever used on Patrik Laine? What do you do if you're Habs management? Do you try and trade him, or do you try and keep him this season?
Yes. Well, certainly the rumors now that have been out the last couple of days are that the Habs are willing to trade him and retain up to half of the salary. I had on Connor Rabchuk from Winnipeg Sports Talk yesterday. He said, we'd love to have back Laine in Winnipeg. We have the cap room. He was beloved here. If you keep salary or maybe add something to the deal, one of those types of deals where you're taking Laine's salary away, cap hit away, that he thinks that they need the secondary scoring huge, big time. Maybe, because I really think right now, well, the second power play unit last night looked better, and they actually scored a goal too. I think Dach being back helps that quite a bit, and they actually looked okay last night and even scored a goal for the second time this year. So that's encouraging. But Laine just doesn't make sense in the bottom six, and we saw it at the start of the year. He just out of place, playing with Evans and Anderson. It just, he's not a defensive stalwart, and that line is first and foremost a checking line. And the fit right now, there just doesn't look. If Dach is good on the top unit, and I prefer him for the physicality and defense part of his game, I prefer him over Laine on the top line, ideally, up against other teams' top lines. So, he's not really a fit in the bottom six. If you can get rid of that salary and bring on a good, NHL defenseman that's top four on most teams, but will play on your third pairing on this Habs team, I think that's the moves that you got to make to, just from a fit standpoint, to help this team the most. Trade Laine and use whatever salaries left, whether it's the whole thing or half or 3/4. Use that to get a good, if it's a $5 or $6 million defenseman, so be it. I think it's important to get that piece. And I think Laine, because of all those factors, I think they're going to shop him and try to move him to another team before the deadline.
It's, as you're talking, what's interesting is, this is kind of a game of moving players around, trying to find the best fit. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, if Michael Hage can indeed play center, and that's an open question, play center at the NHL level, or at least whether he'll start as a centerman or a winger. But if he slots in on the second line with Demidov, Slavkovsky now go to the top line. And that's precisely the kind of forward that they're looking for. On the flip side, Slavkovsky, Demidov, and Kapanen looks great. So it might be a scenario where the Canadiens might move players around until they find the perfect fit and then acquire a player to fill that gap. But there are, as you've said many times, and you said with Kirby Dach, and you were right. You were right about Kapanen, start of the season. You were right about the Canadiens potentially being a 100-point team. And then you're right about Kirby Dach, that the answer at times is internal. And Kirby Dach, we'll talk about him now. He had a hell of a game last night. Yeah. I mean, that assist to Gallagher, off his skate, onto his blade. across the crease. That's the stuff you do in practice. You don't do that in a game. You do it in practice because in a game, your brain's racing a bit more. He just seems so real. I know it's his walk year for his contract, which is great. You'll get the best version of Kirby Dach, but he looked good yesterday. What are your thoughts?
Well, for a 6'4" guy, he's like, it's what made him a top 3 pick. His hands for a 6'4" guy are really good. Like, he's just got very, very good soft hands. And that is why he was a top 3 pick. And that is why you don't give up on him. Yes, you're gambling. You're banking on him not being injured all the time in the future. I'm personally not somebody. I believe in the law of averages. And I think that, you know.
Do you mean if on average you're always hurt, you'll continue to get hurt?
Well, you know, very few players are continually injured throughout their career. They might have pockets, you know, a 3 or 4 years period where they suffer a normal amount of injuries, but then they don't. And I think he's due. Dach is due to be healthy here for 2 or 3 years. And I also do believe it takes, as a rule, 2 full years before you're fully recovered from a major knee injury. You know, past history has shown that with a lot of players. So he's, you know, slowly getting up to his full potential here. I think he's in a lot better shape than he was last year. And that's important too.
And he's even said he doesn't feel winded. He said that yesterday. Says it feels good.
He doesn't have his face isn't as round as it was last year. Like, you can just see it, you know. He's still growing the beard to, you know, he's still got a naturally round face, but yeah, it's not as round as last year.
That is Grant McCagg, NHL scout with a round face. I'm Eric Macramalla with a round face as well. It's HabsCast, all things Montreal Canadiens. You touched on it last night about some trade candidates, or is it 2 nights ago? Can't remember. Sorry. As I get older, time seems to be redefined. No longer linear. Just goes by too fast. I want to ask you about a couple names. I mean, the Montreal Canadiens would be well served. I think number 1 on the list is a reliable defensive-minded defenseman in the Caden Gooley kind of mold, which are tough to find. But again, you can find defensemen far more easily than you can find forwards of impact. If you were the Montreal Canadiens, who out there would you look? You look at a Justin Falk for the Blues, or you're like, oh, it's just too expensive. He's 33. You know, defensively, maybe he's not as great as you would hope. Who would you target, Grant, if you're looking for a defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if Calgary wants to flip Whitecloud, but yeah, I mean, it's quite possible. They're obviously, with them dealing Anderson, other deals that they've made, they're still in the midst of a rebuild here. They do have Uyghur, who is a veteran on the right, so it wouldn't be like Parekh and the other young guys would be left without any veteran mentorship on the right side. I don't know if they plan on flipping Whitecloud, but I think they can get a nice return for him. And if that's the case, I like Whitecloud. That to me is the perfect guy for them. I think that's exactly what they need. And I would offer the Canadiens over the past decade, you could argue that they have very rarely overpaid in a trade. Like, they have not, and especially at trade deadline time, as far as being a buyer, they have not been a buyer for like a decade. And I think this year it might be the time to finally say, you know what, we have to outbid everyone else. This is the guy we need. This is going to help us truly contend in the East and maybe for the Cup this year. Why don't we do it Why don't we pay? Yeah, it's going to cost us a good prospect and maybe a high pick and, maybe a roster player, but do it, get this guy, and go for it this year. White Cloud would be my main target. I mentioned Connor Murphy. I'd even, like, if you can't get one of those two, I'd look at Shen, but he's pretty slow. You see that goal that Ratman scored against him the other night.
Yeah,
that
didn't look great.
No,
when I saw that, I'm like, no, you're out. It's it's funny. When you mention White Cloud, he's at the top of my list. 29 years old, 6'2". His cap hit is phenomenal. He's signed until 2028 at $2.75 million. He's, in my view, precisely what the Canadians need: a defensive defenseman, block shots, physical, kind of a calm guy when it comes to puck management, great work ethic, good IQ. Yeah, he's limited offensively, but that's not what they need. They don't need more offensive upside.
Yeah.
I think just given his value, what he can do together with his AAV, which is really low at 2.75, particularly in 2027 when the cap will be 123 million, he's a tremendous value. He might get potentially one of the better returns for the Calgary Flames. He's the guy I go after. We got to be prepared to give up draft picks to get him, I think, for the Flames. What do you think?
Yeah. And probably a good young prospect.
Like
right?
what? Do you mean like an Owen Beck or?
Well, Engstrom,
Okay.
Beck.
Yeah.
At least that. I mean, I wouldn't be dangling Michael Hage for him, but yeah, a good pick and a Beck or an Engstrom would start with that, and hopefully it wouldn't be more than that and a second round pick. But I think there'd be a bidding war for him. Desharnais is a possibility if San Jose comes out, drops out. But there's only 6 games left before the trade deadline. There aren't going to be that many sellers, unfortunately. I don't think this year, and so it
supply and
limits.
demand, right?
What's that?
Supply and demand. Small supply, the demand's going to be high.
So you're going to have to pay.
Yeah.
You're going to have to pay a premium to get a guy this year. And, we'll see, like it always happens. And especially if the Canadians ever overpay, like social media will just blow up with, they really overpaid. And your prospects are always considered to be like the best in the league too, right? If you give up, like if they gave up Engstrom in the first, I could just see, a lot of Hab fans going crazy, but that might be what it takes. And I really think for their future, like I think you have to look at it. Look, they've got this young core that there's nothing going to be better for their development than having a long playoff run this year. And that's not going to be possible unless they pick up a bona fide big defensive defenseman, I don't think.
He's Grant McCagg. I'm Eric Macramalla. This is HabsCast, all things Montreal Canadiens. Of course, Grant is an NHL scout, so the stuff you get here and now you're starting to figure it out is pretty unique because Grant seems to be right about a lot of stuff in his understated way that he goes about things. When it comes to Adam Engstrom, he was clearly, in my mind, better than Struble and better than Arbor, but he plays a different game. He's 6'2", but doesn't play his size. To what extent, Grant? Because he's got good skating, he's mobile, decent offensive instincts, high IQ, which the Canadians, that's a prerequisite if you want to play for the Canadians. You cannot be stupid, but he's not. He doesn't play big. He's not someone that's going to punish you physically. To what extent is Adam Engstrom, is he redundant for the Montreal Canadiens who have Dobson, who have Matheson, who have Hudson? Does a guy like him even have a place on this team?
Not right now. And he's NHL ready.
Yes,
so
he is.
I think he's an attractive piece, right? Especially for one of these. Typically, if you're at the bottom of the standings, you need defensive help. Yeah, like if you look at the worst teams in the league, invariably they've got issues on defense. And Adam Engstrom can step into a lot of lineups, especially teams that are at the bottom of the standings. So I think there'll be teams that have beefier defenseman core, like defense groups, where you can add an Engstrom and it'll be a great fit. Just for Montreal right now, Adam Engstrom being a lefty, being a mobile offensive defenseman that's not overly physical, like you say, it's redundant on the Canadiens, and it just there's no place for him at this time unless you try him on the right and you hope that he can handle the physical end of it. But I don't know. He played 11 games with the Canadiens. He didn't get a point. He wasn't physical. He was all right, but is he the answer for the playoffs for them to go on a long run this year or even next year? I don't think so.
And I think he's 22 years old. If the Canadiens don't trade him, he'll ask to be traded because his agent's telling him one thing, that on a number of teams in the NHL, you're a starting sixth defenseman. I think that's a fair comment to make. I thought he acquitted himself nicely. Yes, he didn't produce. He's not physical, but he still got the job done. He's not a bad defenseman. He, as you say, he's NHL ready. So if you don't trade him, he'll ask to be traded. There's no place on this team for him as it's currently constructed. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen. If the Canadiens do trade a player away, I think it's going to be him. I think Beck and him have a chance of being packaged and traded away along with a draft pick to a team like the Flames for a guy like Whitecloud. But maybe they want more. I don't know. But
right.
he would be great. The other name I want to ask you about, and it's not a name that I'm terribly fond of given the cap hit, which is 5.625 over the next 3 years, not including this season. And this centerman is 32 years old, and that's Vincent Trocheck. I just don't know if he plays big enough and if he feels a need for the Canadiens. Curious as to your views.
Yeah. He's not overly quick either. No. And the Canadiens kind of play a high pace style. I don't know. So you're saying like to replace Kapanen on the second line type thing, to have a little
or to
more
bring him in. Yeah, I mean, it's either a second or third line, right? But Noah's got that third line. The thing is, the Canadiens just have to stop being small in the playoffs. So they need a little bit of, but I don't think that Trocheck gives you that.
No, he's 5'11" and he's not physical. I don't think. No, it wouldn't be. I don't see that. I think, more along the lines of like a Toropchenko, 6'6" guy that just goes in and just, runs guys over and is just like a bigger version of Josh Anderson, but maybe not with his scoring touch. But that's okay. That's not what you need him for. You need him to soften up other teams' defense groups, have them looking up and having hiccups with the puck, maybe getting rid of it a little quickly, thanks to having a Toropchenko in the lineup. That, or even a Michael McCarron. I think I wouldn't mind them having a big physical center. If you do go the center route, Eric, that's the missing piece at center for, as far as I'm concerned. None of the four guys are overly big or physical, and I don't know at playoff time. You're going up against other teams, good big centermen. You need, I think, you need a physical, large defense center down low to a certain degree. Although Danault, he's been getting better, and he has certainly done it in the past where he can be the kind of the shutdown defender guy, but he's not physical.
No,
Danault doesn't play that physical style.
And the Canadians know that they have to get a little bit bigger, a little bit tougher, and a little bit more physical if they want to be able to make some noise in the playoffs. He's Grant McCagg, NHL scout. I'm Eric Macramalla, not an NHL scout. This is HabsCast, all things Montreal Canadiens. Last name I want to toss out to you, 34-year-old left winger. Left wing is an area of need for the Canadiens. Blake Coleman, his AAV is $4.9 million, and he has one more year left on his deal, which takes him to the age of 35. Do you believe that Blake Coleman would make the Canadiens a better team? And by extension, what does that mean for Brendan Gallagher?
Gallagher, eh? Well,
or Veleno, or does Blake Coleman make this team better? Do you feel as though the Canadiens should take a shot at acquiring him?
Yeah, I would. And Texier'd be odd man out for me, over Gally. I think at the playoffs, things get a little. He's built for playoff hockey. He really is. Like, if he's playing the way he is now at playoff time, he's helping the team more than Alex Texier, in my mind, in a bottom six role. And then you get a Coleman in there too, right? My only issue with Coleman would be that he's not that big either. And I really do think that if they are looking to add a piece to the bottom six, ideal for me, he's big and physical. But Coleman, unlike Toropchenko and some other possibilities like that, McCarron or whatever, can score more, right? He can play a gritty two-way game, but he can also pop in a few more goals for you. That wouldn't be a bad thing in the bottom six either. Somebody was bringing up here, and it's a good point. If you pick up Whitecloud, he's a right defense, and then you've got two right defense on the bottom pairing if you put him with Carrier. But what I should have said this earlier, but Whitecloud, I think, would end up being the second right D, and Carrier the third right D, and then you have Matheson on the third pairing with you have Hudson with Whitecloud. Gooley with Whitecloud as your physical shutdown second pairing, and then Matheson with Carrier as the other, which is their top penalty killing group anyways. But that's, they play together a lot, and they're used to playing with each other on the PK. So have them as your third pairing, but all three get similar ice times. Like, Matheson, you have them all playing 18 to 20 minutes, ideally. Except maybe if you have a lot of power plays, then the offensive guys get a little more ice. If you have a lot of penalties, then the main PK guys would get a little more ice. But you would plug Whitecloud into that second. If you want to call it the third pairing, that's fine with Gooley. Gooley and Whitecloud is the third pairing. Carrier, Matheson is the second. However you want to, it'd be more of a 2A, 2B, I think. And then have and that way you've got three left defensemen, three right defensemen. Because as it is right now, the Gooley-Matheson pairing, that's two lefties, right?
Yeah.
So, well, why did I say right? Two lefties, period. So this way you've got three lefties, three righties, and that would be how it would have to be configured, I think.
Question here from Glenn's 8408. Grant, regarding Reinbacher challenging to search an update on his injury from last week. Any intel? I'm seeing a post on Twitter from Vincent Dumu, who works for LDS. Ryan, I'll just translate it as I'm looking at it. He won't be in uniform against Utica, which I presume they played yesterday, but should be available after the All-Star break. So that's where things stand with Mr. Glass from Unbreakable. He's Grant McCagg. I'm Eric Macramalla. Grant, of course, NHL scout. This is, of course, HabsCast, all things Montreal Canadiens. When we're done here in about 10 minutes, you can stick around. Grant will stick around. I'll be gone, but Grant will stick around and answer all of your questions. And it's a pretty unique opportunity to have access to someone who legitimately knows what he's talking about and understands what it is he sees. So after we're done in about 10 minutes, feel free to stick around here on HabsCast and shoot questions at Greg, and he will answer them. You tweeted out recently you were a little frustrated with Jake Evans on the penalty kill. Arpon Basu had something today on The Athletic that when Evans and Danault kill penalty together, it doesn't seem to work out. Jake Evans is struggling a bit on the penalty kill after last year. Him and Dvorak were fantastic, and Armia was great too. Why is Jake Evans struggling on the PK? Explain that to us.
He's got his contract, and he doesn't have that incentive anymore.
But it's such a small contract. He's got the worst agent ever. I'm kidding. What a terrible. Yeah. He should have got between $4 and $4.5 million. And he took a $2 million discount per year. That to me, like with the cap going up as it was going up, he should have known better, but that's a different story. Why can't he kill penalties well anymore? Sorry.
Yeah, that's a good question. He's puck watching, standing around. I don't know. It's one of life's mysteries. It's not like
he drives you crazy, right?
Well, yeah. I made a video and I'm going to put it up on Patreon this weekend. Just of all of his goals against this year, and invariably he's just kind of standing around, not like apparently knowing what to do, and watching the puck and not covering a man, not covering anybody. And I don't know. It's a mystery to me. Last year he was very good on the PK. Some people even, Montreal circles were saying, well, he should be a serious candidate for the Selke. In part two was, I think, when you score shorthanded goals, people think, oh, well, he's fantastic defensively, but that's offense. That's offense on defense. That doesn't necessarily make you great defensively, but he was fairly good, pretty good on the PK last year, other than the shorthanded goals as well. But yeah, I can't explain it. I don't know why. I'm trying to think, like, he played with did he play with Armia quite a bit last year?
He did.
If I'm not mistaken.
They were 1-2 on the penalty kill. And
I think that's probably the biggest reason is that he doesn't have his sidekick. He did a lot of penalty killing with Anderson before Danault came along, and now they've got those two together. And maybe part of it is that they're both centers and they're both used to being, kind of in the middle of things, and now he has to sort of cover the wing, and that's not where he's used to playing on the PK, and it's been tough for him to adjust to. But yeah, I wouldn't even have him on the PK right now Suzuki and Kapanen are fully capable of it. And Danault, there's three centers that are killing penalties better than Evans right now. I would have those guys. I would have Danault, Evans, Anderson, and Kapanen as your four main penalty killers from now. But knowing Marty and knowing he's not going to change that. The vets that have done it in the past before, just like Monty, how stubborn they were with keep putting him back in, they're gonna keep feeding Jake to the Lions here, and so let's hope he gets it straightened out.
Two questions for you. First, the important one: I got a haircut. Do you like it?
Yes.
Thank you.
Makes your face look rounder, though. That's.
Give it time. I'm getting rounder with every passing day. My upper body looks like a sort of retired WWF wrestler or something, an overage WWF wrestler. It's keep my shirt on because when it's off, it scares the hell out of me. I'm going to ask you a question that I don't want it to come across as rude to these players. But the one thing about this Canadiens team is, and Courtney Hughes and Bob Roth know, they all know this, and the rest of them LaPointe, that the team needs a bit more beef. You know, the old "Where's the beef" ad from the 80s with the Wendy's commercial, right? Is this if I remove these following players and replace them with more meat over the next couple of years, is the team better? Here are the players: Veleno, Evans, Gallagher, and Deneau. And if you're more comfortable, just Veleno, Evans, and Gallagher. I threw in Deneau, but as a fourth line center who's good on faceoffs, I do love him. So let's just say Veleno, Evans, Tessier, and Gallagher. Are those players that we need to look to kind of replace? It's a tough question, I know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Veleno, I think, is ideally your 14th forward or whatever, right? Newhook is going to be coming back in. Don't forget Eric. So you got to add him to the.
I haven't forgotten.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that takes another guy out. And that's part of the reason why, like, I think Evans and like Newhook and Laine back in the lineup, who do you take out? And it's not an easy answer. Like Texier for me would be one of the guys. Maybe Bolduc too. Bolduc, he's got to be in that mix too. He's 6 foot. Like, it's not like he's huge. I mean, he's a solid guy. Like, he's got beef and he's strong, but
is he the kind of guy that might be better in the playoffs? I've seen a little fire lit under him, and he can really throw his body. He's got a heavy body. He might be of value in the playoffs.
Right. Newhook has a heavy body too, and he started to use his, like, if he plays a physical style, and especially with his speed, he can be very effective on the forecheck and even defensively too. And we were seeing that part of his game. I think he was starting to figure out that, okay, I'm going to have to just be a really good two-way, speedy, energetic, physical player. Bottom six player. He was starting to find his identity, I think, when he got injured, and he figuring out, okay, I'm not going to be an offensive player at the NHL level, of any high regard. So I don't know the answer here, but I think they've got too many similar players in the bottom six or bottom nine, and that 100%. They got to move a couple. I mean, Texier would not have been I would not have re-signed Texier, and I think that was, I don't know why they did that. I really don't think he's got a spot in the playoffs on a team if you really want to compete, but I don't know what the answer is there. I assume that they're going to want Bolduc and Texier in the lineup, and if they do, and Galley and Anderson, well, Laine doesn't have a spot then, right? Laine's got to be moved, and then you get Newhook in there. There's still one too many, isn't there?
Yeah, Newhook to me might have some trade value.
Yeah, I know he's
got a low AAV. He's flashy, right? But if you watch him play on a regular basis like we do, there's some parts of his game that we don't necessarily love, but I understand that he has value. You have to give up something to get something. And
maybe,
like you said, and I think you said it last show as well. I think you nailed it when you said we have too many of the similar players.
Yeah.
And if you can get a White Cloud for Newhook and a second round pick, then you do it. Or a Beck or an Ekstrom, and then throw a Newhook's got some trade value, I think, because he can do a lot of things a lot of players can't do. He's incredibly fast north-south player. I mean, he's a really, really quick skater. And like you said, he's heavy. But I don't know if this team needs him. That's the thing. So maybe you give him up and you get what you need. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that as Newhook as a trade bait?
I don't know. I don't know that I like Bolduc better than Newhook right now as a player.
Agreed.
Right? So I don't know. Like I think Newhook can help them down the stretch and in the playoffs here, more so than Bolduc. Not that I'm, 2 years from now, will Newhook be better than Bolduc? I don't know if I can answer that question. That's a good question. And that's something that they're going to have to be evaluating. Maybe Bolduc's a guy that they turn around and trade again. I don't know. Maybe, that's got to be a consideration as well.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if he's the player they thought that he was, but he's still pretty young. He's at 22, so
true.
Who knows?
And Newhook's what, 24?
Yeah,
he's not
25,
very old
isn't
either.
he?
He may be 25 now.
I think it's 25. The weirdest
just
thing is,
reaching
I find it bizarre that we know all the players' ages. I think we need to get a life. I just find it. Someone asked me, "How's it?" Oh, he's 33. His birthday is in May. I'm like, how do I know that? Why do I know that? I wish I could use my brain for other things. Sorry?
Phone number. I can't remember my phone number, but I can remember the age.
I can't remember my credit card number, including the expiry date and the 3-digit code on the back. Just because my wife is always asking me for it. So rather than hand her the card, I just give her the number. Okay, so I think we're pretty much at the end of the show. I guess I want to ask you one more question going into the Olympic break. What are your expectations for Team Canada on the small little cute ice that they made in Milan? And by the way, how funny is it they can't measure the damn ice? They didn't even measure it. How does that even happen? Why don't someone bring a tape measure to the rink and go, hey, it's got to be 200 feet long? That someone needs to explain how they didn't measure it out. But that aside, what are your expectations for Team Canada? And number two, is Bill Guerin crazy for not having Lane Hudson on Team USA? Those are my two questions for you.
I think Canada wins gold, and the Americans flame out because they didn't have Lane Hudson on the team.
I love
they'll
how
end
you
up
answered
needing
both
gold.
questions at once. You're a master. That was very that was quite elegant and sophisticated when you did that.
It was a patriotic answer.
I don't understand how he's not on. He's like, hey, we already have Quinn Hughes and I'm like, well, why don't you have two of them on the ice or two of them on the team rather than one, especially on that ice surface. And Jones small. I mean, he can do some special things. But the thing is, when you watch him play, his gap control is great, his stick works great, his angling is really good, and he rarely gets beat in the corners because he's able to angle properly, right?
He's better defensively than Quinn Hughes, as far as I'm 100%. Concerned.
And he's 21 years old. Future Hall of Famer, I called it. We'll chat again in 15 years. All right. So here, we are done here. Grant, you're going to stick around here on HabsCast and answer the many questions that your many, many, many fans have for you. We got a ton of comments that were dropped in the comment room, so thank you for that. Stick around. Grant will answer all of your questions. He's great at that. Hope you enjoy that. He's Grant McCagg. I'm Eric Macramalla, and this has been HabsCast. All things Montreal Canadiens. Chat soon.
Thanks, Eric. Eric Macramalla, folks. He's the best. Love him. Love when he can host. It's depressing when he can't, but he makes time, and great to have him. Sally. Kevin Gumbley, Sally still has game after the break. His line will be key. Might need to sit on the backs to stay fresh. Yes, and of course we know he meant Galley. And there's 6 back-to-backs coming up. I would think that they need to maybe sit him a couple of those. I wouldn't disagree with that. We'll see. I mean, if he's scoring 2-3 points a game, he won't be sitting. Here is the remainder, the Montreal Canadiens schedule the rest of the way. I think they need 100 points to get in, it looks like. 99 is the cutoff point for the 8th club, but, if things keep going the way they are. But in looking at this schedule here, I wouldn't be surprised if they could still go for first in the division and in the conference. This is not the 1927 New York Yankees, folks. It's not Murderers Row. They have 5 games of their 25 against teams that are top 7 in their conference, their respective conferences. 5 out of the 25. So, and 4 games against teams that are above them in the standings. So they're going to be favored in a lot of these. 13 of the 25 are at home, so more at home than on the road. I mean, they end with the Islanders and Flyers at the end. I'm hoping that it's already sewed up by then, that they're not still fighting for a playoff spot at that point. I think with the schedule, the way they're playing, as Eric said, like over 700. Only Columbus are better in the last 20 some games. That's pretty impressive, right? They're healthy now. They stayed in the top 5 in the conference basically for the past month, and up until the past few weeks with an unhealthy lineup, and now they're healthy. So it's only going to get better. I think it's safe to say the Canadians are making the playoffs. I'd be quite surprised. It would have to be the goaltending just fall apart for them not to, and let's hope that that's not the case. Somebody was mentioning Tim. I wasn't serious about Jake and the contract. Come on, like, you didn't think I was serious, did you? I was just, sometimes obviously he's not mailing it in because he's got his contract. That was not a serious comment. Slav never hits anyone. Slav hasn't been hitting as much lately as before, but he's also not being asked to do it. Like, his role has kind of changed a bit. He's kind of the play driver on this line now, right? You can't have the puck and hit at the same time. It's kind of one or the other. Now, when he was on the top line, that was kind of his role, right? Was to be physical, get in there, get pucks, get turnovers, using your physicality, and that's not necessarily what he needs to do on this line. But saying that he never hits is, well, I mean, he's got 83 hits this year. That's 4th on the team or whatever. He does hit, but on this line, it's not as prevalent. Like the first, I'd say the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 14 of his first 24 games, he had multiple hit games, right? And since then, in the past 30 some, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 multi-hit games in the last 33. So he's not hitting as much as he did at the start of the year, but as I say, that's because he was moved to the kid line, and he's being asked to be the more of a puck possession, play driving, offensive minded player than when he was on the Suzuki line. And hey, if you ask me, would I rather have Slav throwing 2 hits or getting 2 points in a game? I'll take the 2 hits over the 2, the 2 points over the 2 hits. But let's just quickly here, since game 30, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 22, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29 points in his last 27 games. So I wouldn't be too critical of Slav. You know, point per game works for me. And going to the front of the net, yeah, maybe he's not hitting when he's in front of the net, but he's also not getting moved out of the way either. He's blocking, blocking opponents. He's tough to move. It's not always just about hitting. It's, there's other parts to his game that where he can utilize that size without it necessarily being a hit. But yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing him hitting again a little more. Obviously, he's not hitting as much as he did on the top line, but that will come. We've seen Slav can hit and hit hard, and I wouldn't be too concerned about that. That'll especially at playoff time. You watch, he's going to be hitting plenty. Blinded by the score sheet. The Galley Anderson line had 23% expected goals. So are you blinded by the score sheet then, Francois? That's a score sheet. That's a stat sheet, right? I don't know. I'd rather have 3 points than 23% expected goals. I don't really give a shit if you get 3 points. Oh, his expected goals wasn't great. Well, I don't care. He got 3 points. Which is more important? Getting 3 points, a goal and 2 assists, or having a expected goals of 50 as opposed to 23? Give me the points. Sometimes we get a little, blinded by the advanced stats, Francois. I mean, there's 2 ways of looking at that, right? Nick Hague, 240 pounds. Yeah. Perbix, 22 penalty minutes, the most he's ever had in a season. I don't get I don't think Perbix is the answer, honestly. Give me White Cloud. Give me some size and physicality, not just height. V5 Nick Hague is on a team that's 5th in their division. Right-handed, 240 pounds. Right, he's 6'6", 240 pounds, right-hand defenseman, 26 years old, on a team that's trying to win a cup. So why would they trade him? Like, we're going for, when we throw out, well, this guy could be a target, that guy, because they're on teams that may trade them. You can have a wish list, but hey, why not Victor Hedman? He's 6'6", 250 pounds. Why don't they try to get him? Well, because he's not available. Francois, you don't put too much weight in the results of a game. Well, I don't know. I think it's important for a goalie to win. Anyway, the thing that seemed unusual for Monty was that he was anticipating the play. Yeah, well, he was so you're saying he was tracking the puck a little better last night. I agree with that. And it's been one of his weaknesses this year. So that, to me, you've got to give some credit to to Marco Marciano for that, I do believe. Some of the boys do get together. It'll be done like how the boys arrange their own thing and getting together prior to training camp. Yeah, exactly. But I'd like Marco and Monty to get together, if you know what I mean. I hope they do. I really hope Monty doesn't go. He's had a lot of time off over the past 2 months. So, you can always go to the beach in the off season. Haig, yeah. Imagine we have no room for Laine, a guy that scored so many goals. We are too awesome. Yeah, I know, eh? Not sure Winnipeg owner would want to pay the real dollars for Laine, even if it is 50. Well, yeah, but they're not filling their arena either. So you start getting 2,000 more a game because you've got Laine back, and that's a possibility, by the way. You can make up for that salary pretty quickly. And don't forget, it's not the full salary either. Like, Laine's actual salary left from March to the end of the year is $1.8 million. Well, they get 1,000 more fans a game. You know how quickly you can recoup that $1.8 million? About 5 games. We'll do the math. 1,000 more fans, and that's entirely, I had on Connor Rabchak yesterday. He said everybody's still got a Laine uniform, Laine shirt. Freaking merchandise sales. Laine came back. Are you kidding me? They make it up in that alone. Sometimes you got to kind of think past the, got to look at the big picture, Francois. Francois from Shawinigan, is it? Best old Baron in the Quebec League, in my opinion. Well, the Bob and Shawinigan. Okay, Fee-Fi-Fo Fun. Why don't you mention Haig again? How many times you got to put that in there, my friend? I just don't think he's going to be available, whether he's going to be a UFA or not. Vegas goes for it every year, right? They're not going to be trading 6'6", 240-pound defenseman when they think they've got a shot at winning again. $1.9 million. Let's see if Dach can stay healthy. Well, let's hope so, right? Grant is always right. I wish. Montreal could get the finals if they trade for Haig. Yeah. Okay, Fee-Fi-Fo-Fum. I think I get it. You want Haig, right? His name's not Eric Haig, by the way. I'm fine to go with this forward group the way they're playing. Our issues are letting in goals, not scoring them. Good point, Deuce. Solid defensive D-man to play on the bottom pair would be a great ad. Yeah. Or even on the second pair, and then bring down Matheson to play third pair. Play them all the same amount. Matheson out doing his penalty kill time all the time. Bring down his ice time a bit. Wouldn't be a horrible thing either. You need a streamlined face to be an athlete, not round like us. Yeah, well, I did one time have a streamlined face and consider myself an athlete, but time and pasta is kind of. Laine was a low-cost gamble. Well, yeah, especially when they consider that they got a second-round pick, along with them, right? That we never got to see healthy. Team is entering a contending window. Just no fit here long-term. Dach were agreeing way too much recently. It's starting to scare me, buddy. Serge Savard broke his leg twice. Yes, he did. Different thing even, though, than, tearing up your ligaments. Like, that's broken legs repair and heal up, and it's typically you don't have, it's not a 2-year to get back to normal. Different story when you tear your ACL. It's worse. I understand the lure of White Cloud or Shen, but they were both right D. Yeah. Well, as I said, Eric, Matheson, Carrier, right? Dobson, Gooley, and White Cloud as your definitive physical pair, and Hudson and Dobson. And if you want to switch it up at some points, Gooley can go with Dobson. It's a nice pairing too, and Hudson with White Cloud. And then your other pair is Matheson Carrier, which is your top pairing on the PK. They're used to playing with each other. They're a decent shutdown pair too. So that's 3 nice pairings, all right? And don't forget, like White Cloud, you can say, oh, well, geez, you don't want him playing top 4 or, in the second pairing. Well, his time on ice it is high, so he can do it. He can. Zach White Cloud is not out of place playing top 4 minutes if, at the end of the day, it'd actually be a friggin' luxury. I just want to double check here, but averaging 19-24 a game. Calgary's playing 24, 20, 24, 23. Okay, no, he wasn't the top. He wasn't getting the most time on ice. Somebody said it on a broadcast, and I guess I should have double checked. Don't believe everything you hear on podcast. But White Cloud blocks a lot of shots. 8 games with Calgary is 13 block shots, 13 hits, averaging 23 minutes a game. He's friggin' defensive stalwart, boy. But yeah, he typically plays top 4 minutes on average. 18 minutes plus a game. He was 18.46 in Vegas, which is good, which is high. Let me just, out of curiosity, look at time on ice here. McNabb average a little more. Hannafin, Theodore. So he was 4th on Vegas in ice time among their defense core, which is considered, long been considered one of the best in the league. So, but don't forget, Matheson will get a lot more PK probably, but it's not out of the realm of possibility of having White Cloud play top 4 minutes on a team. Would Struble plus something get White Cloud from the Flames? I don't know. I don't know that's. I think it'd be more, they might want someone like Beck more so than Struble, but maybe. But that something would have to be something, You stand 10th worst in goals against. Seems like we're improving, but our PK isn't doing well. My impression, though, is that our forwards that don't play well in the PK. Yeah. Having White Cloud would help the PK. Getting another, like Blake Coleman which has been pointed out, if you did pick him up, is an outstanding penalty killer too, right? Maybe there's a big package deal, Coleman and White Cloud. Price would be high, but they would certainly help the team. Younger guys would be exempt from having to be protected. Yeah. Well, Gooley, Carrier, Matheson, Dobson, Hudson, Myers. Yeah. Myers is on the decline. Texier and Laine will be extras. Yeah. Can't be third pairing. He's the D with the most ice time. Well, why does that, Simon? So that, have him, as I tried to explain there, Simon, we're talking like he'd be fifth. He might be fifth in even strength ice time if you had him with Carrier, but Matheson Carrier wouldn't be getting missing rotation. It'd be all three would basically get the same ice time. Like there's nothing wrong with that. You just throw, and you're not worried about matchups. You just throw your friggin' next group out there. That would be a good thing. But Matheson, with the fifth amount of ice time, even strength, but then, the most penalty kill time, he might be third still on the, nightly in ice time. And don't forget, it's not every game here that he's getting the most ice time too. Like, we'll just like his ice time in recent times has been pretty close to Dobson. There's nights Hudson gets more. There's nights even Gooley's got more. So he doesn't have to have the most ice time. I think that's, and especially if you pick up another D, and would you rather have Hudson on the third pairing, or I mean, you could say, well, Gooley, I mean, whatever, like put Gooley with Carrier and put put Matheson in with Dobson, if you, or whoever with White Cloud, however you want to do it. Those suggested pairings are one possibility, but as we've seen with this club before, they're not averse to switching that around either, right? Just time on ice here. Hudson's averaging 23:42. Dobson's averaging 22:44. Matheson 24:50. So, a little more he's been averaging all year, but when you look at even strength, it's not that much more. So anyway, you're not. Yeah, Francois talking about the PK. Well, yeah, that's why he would be attractive. One of the reasons, and he can score goals. Sloth does not play small. Where have you got that in your head? Newhook and Suzuki don't play small either. Sloth plays small? What the heck? Oh, well, we'll be disagreeing on that one. I like you from morning radio. One of the few things I like over there. Yeah. Yeah, Eric's good. Eric's got a great show. Offside, by the way. It's on TSN 690, TSN 1200, TSN Edmonton. You know who doesn't play big? Fee-Fi Fo-Fum is Danault. Suzuki plays more physical, and Newhook both play more physical than Danault. If you wanna go there. Jake is more honored. Yeah. Okay, I discussed that, Tim. Regarding Evans, twin boys born in August will always have an impact. Yeah. Well, maybe they shouldn't have signed him then. I agree for the beginning of the year, but not for a while. Goaltending is doing okay. I think it's going to be Bolduc. It's just the numbers thing right now. And yes, Newhook is a thick guy that plays heavier than Bolduc. Well, he's certainly faster. And as mentioned here, Newhook is great at zone entries. Yeah. They're not going to say that they dislike. Gordon's not going to say that they dislike friggin' any player. Like, geez, that's news. Oh yes, we like Jack-Eye and we like Struble. Well, what else is he going to say? Like, why would you even ask him that question? I would not move back. Solid player, great character. Yeah. Do you see him in the lineup, Tim? You move him if you can improve your team for now. I don't know that Beck has a spot. I mean, Hage is coming in. Hage is ahead of him in the pecking order. Will Beck ever play for the team? Danault and Evans are signed the next 2 years. In 2 years' time, Hage is ahead of Beck. So why would you not move Beck? Sometimes you got to move guys that, you know, if you're going to improve and you're going to go for it, the only way you're going to have to move somebody that's worth something, that another team, like if you wouldn't want to move Beck, then that means that another team would take him and would say, oh, okay, yeah, we don't mind that player. Sure. We'll trade you an 18, 19 minute a night defenseman that will help you win playoff rounds and can help you for the next few years. Okay. But it's not going to look like Joshua Waugh's not going to move the needle, right? It's going to have to be a Beck. That if you don't want to move Beck, then that's exactly the kind of player that the Canadians will have to include. It's just the way it is. They're going to have. They don't have a space for Beck right now, and they may not have a space for him in 2 years. I like Beck, but Montreal is a contender now, and he might have to find a home on a weaker team. And, you know, there's a redundancy in the bottom six right now, and he's part of that redundancy, and that's why he's not in the lineup. Hughes seems fine with having extra players. When he acquired Danault, he said he didn't want to get rid of a roster player. Well, yeah, you can be fine with having, but you only have 23 spots. So, like, Hughes can't be fine with having 25-man roster because you can't. So, players are going to have to move here. Arbor on the fourth line. Oh, okay. I think Caulfield is just as big an omission. Maybe. Bolduc in lineup over Newhook. I don't see it. Yeah. No, Eric's not the biggest Newhook guy, but he's ahead of Bolduc right now. I don't think there's any question about that. He was showing well on the PK. You know what? He was hitting too. He was on the forecheck. He was finishing his checks. He's a big, strong kid, fast. And when he does hit you, you feel it because he's going friggin' 25 miles an hour. And 200 pounds, 5'11". Like, he's not. I mean, I know all about it. I wasn't tall, but I was thick. And when I hit you playing hockey, you felt it. Like, it's not height that hurts when you get hit. It's friggin' size, right? It's meat. He makes up with speed and stick checking. As far as playmaking, they're similar. Yeah, exactly. Even at our worst this season, we played 500, which would probably be enough to make the playoff. No, they're going to have to play 560 the rest of the way to get 100 points. If they play 500 the rest of the way, they'd be about 95 points, I think, and that's not going to do it, folks. Not this year. Just not going to do it. Let me quickly bring up the standings here again. Standings. If they played 500 the rest of the way, 25 games, 25 points, 97 points. Wouldn't be enough, folks. That's not going to get you in the playoffs this year. I don't believe. But 560, yeah, that should get you in. That's very achievable. Only gold is coveted from Team Canada's standpoint. Regarding U.S., the X Factor, both Laine and Cole not invited might come back to haunt them, especially if it goes 3-on-3. We can only hope. No disrespect for those Americans that are tuning in, but I will be not cheering for them this year or any year. Top 12. New Hook, Evansville, Duke. Well, I mean, who do you take out for Texas there, right? And that's not including even picking up a player, but yeah. Who's out with that lineup? Well, there's Francois. Ulonen used to drive me nuts. Always deliberately miss his checks and hit the boards to make it look like he was trying to be physical. Yeah. Well, there's that too. He happens to be a lefty. Like and subscribe if you haven't. That's a good idea. We're not getting a huge gang out here today, so I won't go too much longer here, folks. It's we only have 72 watching on YouTube. It was more a Wheeler that Laine had problems with than Scheifele. What do I think is the value of prospects like Rohrer, Eriksson, Sawyer? The value? Like, you mean trade value? I don't think it'd be real high right now. I don't know that they're in tough to make the Habs down the road, but never say never. They're all decent prospects, but B or C prospects, I'd say. Money look good. We need goaltending down the stretch and in the playoffs. Yes, Johnny. Glenn pointing out that White Cloud may be the silver lining. There you go. Very punny. I don't see White Cloud as much of an upgrade. White Cloud for Laine and Habs retain 50%, can give a third-round pick. Okay. Why would Calgary do that? Would rather have Parayko, yeah. Changing goalie coaches was a very wise decision by Hugo. Yes. Parayko would cost a lot more, and I don't think he's, again, I don't think he's available. White Cloud, Kadri for Evans, Jacky, Ekstrom in the first. Kadri. No, that wouldn't be enough, but no thanks. Aristor Jewelry, $199. Hey, that's a new name. Thanks for tuning in. You would prefer Klapko over McCarron? Well, the thing is, Aristor, McCarron's a UFA to be. Nashville would be getting rid of him. They would be more apt to be dealing McCarron than why would Calgary trade out of Klapka, right? They're rebuilding. They're building for the future. Adam Klapka's young. Adam Klapka's cheap. Adam Klapka's not available. That would be why I would rather that the Habs try to trade for McCarron, because he'd be available. We know that Robidas and MSL have confidence in Matheson. Absolutely. And again, I'm saying, have three defense pairings that are basically all equal. Throw them out there. There's nothing wrong with that. And whether you have Matheson on the second pairing, third pairing, however you want to work it, if Matheson has to get more ice time than Gooley, then put him on the second pairing. Doesn't matter. Put him with White Cloud on the second pairing, or put him with Carey on the third. Whatever. Grant, can you give me an example of a team in the playoffs that use all three defense pairings equally? Yeah. I don't have time while I'm on this podcast, Eric, to go aside for 15, 20 minutes, study that, and get back to you. I think I'd lose people pretty quickly here. Sorry about that. We need toughness. Yes. White Cloud's tough. And yes, Emil, I don't know if you missed, I said that exact thing, so yes. There's an abundance of backs out there. It may seem on occasion we look at Habs players from a biased lens. Other teams don't necessarily have that level of assessment. Yeah. Well, Beck, I don't think has huge value, but I mean, a team like Calgary could have a spot for him more so than Montreal, because I just think he's a better fit for a team like that. And this guy right here, Yvan Cournoyer, he got his wood flooring at Logs End. They're a company based in Eastern Ontario, West Quebec. They do work all over Quebec and Ontario. Very unique in that they take logs from the Ottawa River, turn them into beautiful wood flooring, and you just can't beat the unique style of their flooring. It's beautiful stuff. And hey, if it's good enough for Yvan, it's good enough for you. Visit Logs End you get an opportunity, just check out their website, logsend.com. Reclaim wide plank flooring. Tell them that Grant from HabsCast sent you if you do make an inquiry, and they will look after you and treat you well. Yeah. Again, VDoc, they change the defense pairings all the time. So I'm just, whether you have put Gooley with Carrier if you like, it does whatever. They get, we can argue semantics all we want. The fact is that you can have Gooley on the third pairing, you can have him on the second. I like the look of Gooley. White Cloud as a friggin' shutdown pair. Carrier and Matheson play together on the PK all the time, so it would work. And Gooley with Carrier would work too, and Matheson with White Cloud would work. I think Hudson with White Cloud would work. You put Matheson back with Dobson. You mix and match. Doesn't matter, Doesn't matter. However you want to, you want Matheson. 1 week guys don't want Matheson on the ice at all, and now everybody, he's got to play more than everyone else. Well, whatever. You don't. They mix and match the friggin'. The defense pairings have not been the same together in like 4 straight games ever. So me saying like have those pairings, it doesn't matter because they freaking changed them up and they're changing them all the time anyway. So, there's no use of us like. The fact is, like I say, you can have all different scenarios with that, as I just mentioned. They can be, Gooley can play with Dobson, Gooley can play with White Cloud, Gooley can play with Carrier. Same with Matheson, same with Hudson. I like all 3 of those. There's a bit of something, both pairings, with that 6 together. So, however you want to configure it. Like Matheson could go back with, Matheson can play with White Cloud and he'd be fine. He could play with Dobson, he'd be fine. He can play with Carrier, he'd be fine. So, it's not something that I'm saying, well, you put him with Carrier and you never, like, that's it. You never change. They change the pairings all the time. So, and again, like, I'd rather have Parayko. Well, yeah, sure. But you would have to pay a lot more for Parayko. And Parayko's probably not being shot. So there's a signing bonus. The thing about Parayko, he's not really physical. That's like, he's big, but White Cloud's more physical. White Cloud's more of a fit, but he'd also cost less, and he's also probably more available. So that's why I'm leaning towards, like, yeah. Parayko too has been on the decline. I know there's this love of Parayko, but we'll see at the Olympics. You might get a glimpse of it. There's a signing bonus that has to be paid at the end of the year. Hey, Dicey Man, thanks. Yeah, well, again, if he went to Winnipeg, just in merchandising alone, they would make back that signing bonus in like no time. I don't think it would be, signing bonus and $2 million the rest of the year for the extra fans. Like, Winnipeg's one of the few arenas that's not reaching capacity. I actually think that the owner would like Laine just to get more fans in and to sell more merchandising. Like he'd more than make up for that $2 million plus signing bonus that they would have to, pay out to Laine for the rest of the year. Sometimes you have to just look past the, things on the surface and consider other things. And for those reasons, Laine, I think, would be attractive. Who knows? Maybe they'd take the whole, because it would only be a couple mil. Maybe they take the without retaining and say, okay, just throw in a draft pick we need, or a young player of some sort, maybe a Beck or something like that, and we'll do the deal. And then you free up that space to get the asset that you really want to add. As you're going along here. All right, let's I'll answer a few more here, folks. We're getting up on 2 hours. I'm going to do a special I have a video of a draft eligible prospect that I really like, and I think he's flying under the radar. This time of year, there's always a couple guys that shoot up my list, and this is, I found the guy that I think, whoa, why is he that low? Why is he so low on a list that I see? This guy's he's the hot ticket right now, but he's also would be perfect addition to the Canadiens farm system. I'm going to do at 7 or 8 o'clock tonight. I'm going to do a special prospect episode on this specific player and show you highlights of him, and I think you're going to be quite impressed. And not everyone will agree with me. No one ever does. I'll agree with. I never have everyone agreeing with me on something, but I think a lot of you will say, "Oh, yeah, that would be nice to have." So hope you can tune in tonight for this special primetime draft prospect episode where I feature kid that I think, you watch here over the next month or two, all of a sudden you'll see he starts getting mentioned to be, kind of like Seneca a couple of years ago when, I identified that this guy should be a lot higher in the rankings than he was. And ultimately he went exactly where I had him ranked, 3rd overall. It was the same with Mason McTavish. People had him outside the top 10. No, I actually ranked him 2nd and quite early before people were moving him from, actually even coming up to the draft, there were still independent lists that didn't have him top 10. This guy's going a lot higher than you think. And he went 3rd overall to Anaheim, and they don't regret that pick at all. This guy's a bit like McTavish. Oh, not some parts of his game, but anyway, big, fast, skilled, and mean and strong. Hope you can tune in for that one. Glenn says, my understanding bonus has been paid. Regardless, only $2 million. Yeah. Okay, like everybody doesn't know, like you're not in the dressing room. Like let's not pretend, folks, that we know exactly what went on there. Monty played like yesterday since the beginning of the season. He's probably with Team Canada. Yeah. VDoc, no issues with Masson Carey as a 3rd pair used strategically. Gooley Hudson are better in my eyes as left-handy if we had 3 legitimate right-handy in the lineup, balanced ice time across all pairings. Yeah. I don't think that would be a terrible thing. Lomberg is tough in Calgary too. Yeah, but he's 5'9". I think they need some. I think they need some beef. I wouldn't say that he's a grind like a he can fight. He's tough, but does he wear down other teams? I don't. Not at his size. Yeah, Monty played like that all year. Ivan Cornoy, I attended his hockey school when I was 13. Holy frick. Yeah. That's cool. The best away crowd all season was versus Edmonton, where the fans were going back and forth. Chants, go Habs, go, let's go Oilers. Loudest I've heard all year. Yeah. It's pretty crazy, eh? How demoralizing it must be when teams host Montreal and the crowd is for the visitors. Yeah. I don't know. Where are you from, Tim? I'm from the Ottawa Valley. You look sort of familiar. I just saw an article on Sportsnet, similar that went through it, said they had the signing bonus should be paid by the team that takes Laine on top of 50% on the contract. Okay. $50% only 950K only, as there's only $2 million left to be paid. All right. Whereabouts in New Brunswick, Tim? Are you from? Johnny, can't wait for tonight's show, Grant. Appreciate all your content. Right on, Johnny. I can't believe how quickly an hour goes here. It's almost been an hour since Eric was on. Just crazy. From Moncton. Yeah. You ever have a beer or two at the Chris Rock Tavern? Trying to think of the bar. I used to stop in at Chris Rock for a few ales. Mid-90s. Were you in Moncton in the mid-90s, Tim? I also used to go to a bar in Riverview. I don't know if it's still going. I'm just looking to see if it's may not be there anymore. But we may have ran into each other, Tim, back in the mid-90s. Cheers, Grant, for today, as always. Yeah, the Fox and Hound, that was it. Yep. I had a little newspaper that I ran for a year, the Riverview Review, that I published out of Riverview for a year. And I would stop in the Fox and Hound and the Chris Rock Tavern, have a few pints. So they sponsored my beer league. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I used to play pickup hockey with the firefighters, Riverview. We went to a few tournaments and stuff. The Fox and Hound closed down in June. Oh yeah, this last June? Really? Wow. Just for fun. Oh, doesn't sound like fun. Do you put Dach as first line center? Yeah. No. Then you pick up a center, I guess. Montreal goes 13-12. The ninth place Jackets would have to go 17-8. Leafs would have to go 18-7. There you go. Eh? Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking like an 8th place, right? Yeah, I'd end up finishing 9th. No, I mean, the odds aren't good, but the thing is, right now, the 8th place team is probably going to land with 97 points. So, yeah. Well, when you put it that way, it does seem unlikely that the Habs are going to the Habs are, as long as they stay above 500 here, it's going to be really tough for them to not to make the playoffs. But, a lot of teams have gone 18-7, 17-8 before in a 25-game stretch. It's not a stretch, for that to happen. I mean, the Jackets, they're 11-2 in their last. What's Buffalo in their last 25? I bet you they haven't lost 7 in their last 25. Has Columbus even lost 7 in their last 25? I know in their last 13, I think they've lost 1. So 1 or 2. So, but yeah, I'm not expecting the Habs to fall out of the playoffs here. Ottawa and Buffalo players not too happy with how loud the Habs fans are in their own barns. Yeah, really, eh? It's pretty crazy. All right, folks. 3 o'clock. Put in 2 hours. I hope you can tune in tonight. That should be fun. As per usual, folks, some great stuff. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Matthew Hyman, thanks, Canadians. I'm hoping the game last night pushed Jets to become sellers. There's a Jets fan. Well, they certainly look like they need to make some changes. They're not making the playoffs. I'd be afraid, Matthew. Thanks for having the first message on here. All right, that's it for now. Got to go let out the pup. Maybe go for a ski. Thank you, everyone. And if you can tune in tonight, going to feature a prospect that is very tantalizing, and I think the Habs would love to have. Okay, that's it for now. Thanks for tuning in. Bye for now.